Hi, everybody. This is John Lyons, and you're listening to Cinema Activist. I have a special, awesome, kick ass guest today, Jill Killington,
Hi.
producer, director, writer, author
Extraordinaire. Yeah, it's just
extraordinaire.
anything you can do.
I'm probably leaving some of your multi hyphenates out, but maybe we will get into some of them as we're chatting. So, welcome, Jill.
Hi, thank you, John.
Great to see you.
Great to see you. We've never met in person, but we've talked quite a bit, and I enjoy talking with you.
Same, and hopefully someday we do get to meet in
We'll
person.
definitely meet up. We can't not meet.
Yeah. It's been too long. We've been talking for, let's see, I'm trying to remember when we first started chatting. I
Well, I
think it
should have
was
I should have got into my records. I believe it was the beginning of 2024.
yeah, it was either late 2023 or early 2024. And we had an idea. Maybe it was, I was talking to Adam Stillwell, who's been on Cinema Activist a couple episodes
Cool.
as well. Yeah, we were talking about, the state of independent filmmaking, and we started to form this group with the three of us and Ashley Sneed called Cinema Circus, right?
Look, Cinema Circus is still on the docket of things to do. It's just like I think it might be expanding because I think we all have to be promoting ringleaders all the time for our projects now, right? You can't just put it
Absolutely.
out there and wait. You have to promote.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to be an independent filmmaker. You have to wear a lot of hats, more hats than you even needed to just a few years ago. You have to
I mean,
also
that
work
is
with stuff.
100% true, but I'd rather be wearing a lot of hats myself. I've worked as a professional filmmaker, commercial filmmaker, TV. I've done a lot of different things. Indie is the new way, and I always admired people like Roger Corman who just went out there and did it, encouraged other people to go out there and did it, discovered other talents, made friends along the way and great movies. It's like that's to me what it's about.
Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. You definitely have that indie entrepreneurial spirit and drive, which is something
You
I
met me at a
really
point in my
admire.
life where I've had to become this monster that I am now because I used to be such a sweet, nice, shy girl. But yeah, that girl didn't get paid enough. Nobody wanted to read her scripts. Let me tell you, when you come to LA and you're about 24 years old and you're a real wide-eyed young woman, nobody wants to read your scripts, but they're going to pretend they want to read your scripts.
Yeah, reading
So
scripts
at
is
least back in those days, I think now that people actually listen to each other, but
I think so.
it's a
We're
different
we're a
time.
little better at it, right? It's still difficult to read a feature script of somebody.
Look, yeah,
It's
again, it's like that was a good lesson for me because when I first moved to LA, nobody wanted to read my feature scripts. I got a job being an assistant on a TV show, but then I simultaneously was acting in commercials as like, a random burger eater or a car rider in the back of a car or something. And people would see me in that and be all excited to talk to me about like, "Oh yeah, we saw you in the hamburger commercial." And I was just like, that was 1 second of advertising and it worked. And now people think I'm an actor. And it's like, really, that was just like the highest paying job I could get at the time compared to being an assistant. You get paid in one day, like, for a commercial, like what it would take like a week or two for me as an assistant. So
okay.
you learn the economics of time and interest and value. And yeah.
Yeah. All right, before we jump into getting into the industry, what do you wanna share about whatever you're comfortable with? Because I think I messaged you and said, I do feel like there's comedy in your bones. You have, like, a natural talent there, but I'm
Look,
curious.
like I said, I'm a survivor and an entertainer, and people, it's all about the like, hey, this is the next big thing coming. But yeah, I guess I love comedy. I love horror with a lot of comedy. I didn't start as a stand up or anything weird like that.
Yeah, I just
I was
wondered,
definitely too shy for that.
when you were a kid, what did you wanna be when you were growing up
Because
initially that you
because
can
you
remember?
asked like what I was like as a kid in the email, I brought out school photo vibes.
Whoa.
That is some sad shit right there, and it's like the first thing you think is like, I hope it likes to read, and it's like, yes, it did. It likes to read. So yeah, that's what I was like as a kid. I was an avid reader and always wanted to learn and imagine more through books and movies, and that's how it all began.
Okay, so you had a
That's just deep
very
down in here.
active and creative mind. Did
Yes,
you, like,
very.
Did you write? Did you draw? Did you paint? Did you do music? Did you do everything? What were your
I
interests?
did like I'm half Filipino, so I did like the piano lessons as a kid. I was never a
Wow.
great musician as a child, but I've always liked dabbling in music. I always liked writing. My drawing skills were never so great. I think actually my mom, she didn't want me to be left-handed, so I was forced to be right-handed. I think that probably stopped me from being a person with great handwriting and great drawing skills. But regardless, yeah, I just always wanted to understand people and communicate better and share interesting visions of the world and points of view. And that made me love reading, writing, and not so much theater, but always movies and TV.
Okay. So then what was like I mean, did you go to school after like grade school?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean high
Okay.
school?
What'd you go to school for?
Oh, you mean like college?
Yeah.
I went to school for filmmaking.
Okay. So you were the
Yeah.
real deal, Jill.
I mean, I bought into the dream of like, you go to film school, you make a movie, and that's why it's like I can't turn back at this point in history. Like I've been at this so long,
Yeah.
and I'm making the dream real again.
Yeah.
There's always a moment where like the industry is not doing so hot, whether it's like the 70s Easy Rider Raging Bulls moment or like the 90s indie cinema rise, where it's like all of a sudden, Steven Soderbergh and Quentin Tarantino are like reinventing the
Rodriguez.
industry.
Yep.
Rodriguez, it's like right now it's like, okay, I've been through several phases of this industry now on so many different levels. Literally became a Jill of all trades. But it's like all skills, but also like you learn how to trade for favors, you learn how to trade for, time. Like there's just different ways of getting things done.
When did you move out west? Did you move out west for school or have you
No.
always lived there? Or?
No, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, which later became a giant film hub. During the time
Yeah.
was growing up, though, it was more like Burt Reynolds movies would sometimes shoot there.
Got it.
It wasn't like, the biggest hub for like Marvel movies at that point. But yeah, I moved
Different
out.
vibe. Burt
Yeah,
Reynolds
it's
was a
completely
different
different
vibe.
vibe. And then after I graduated film school, I don't like to advertise my film school because I didn't enjoy my experience there.
Got it.
So
I
I
was
don't
gonna
like to
ask that
endorse.
if you
No,
felt
I
like it
don't. I
was
don't want to endorse them. Like it's just like if anyone could figure out what film school I went to and it ever matters, I'm interested. But it's like I don't think getting a film degree mattered. It was good
yeah.
for connections and good for the lasting friendships I made. But in this day and age, go to the school of hard knocks. I don't know. That was sort
Yeah,
of my thought.
honestly, I was gonna ask you about that, if you felt like it was worth it, honestly, and it sounds like if you still have connections from there, it was worth it to an extent, probably? Like, connections
During
is
that
where it's
time
at.
period, it was the best way for me to meet like-minded people. But nowadays, I would say, like, you can find like-minded people so easily online. And I was doing this, actually, that's how I found my film school online. So again, it's just like, maybe it's better that I went to film school, but I still just don't necessarily. Now it's easier to just pick up your phone and start shooting and figure out how to get things done.
Yeah.
It was a very different time. But yeah, after film school, I moved out to LA. I started trying to get like jobs. And as I was getting jobs as an assistant and trying to get people to read my scripts, because I'm half Filipina, half white, I had an interesting look. And I also had like bright pink hair. Right when I
Wow.
first moved out here, yeah, because I was very art school weird. And
Alright.
I started booking commercials. And, that was a great exposure and supplement to my financial needs for living in Los Angeles. And yeah, it helped launch me. And immediately, the first thing I did once I booked a commercial and got paid, I bought an editing computer. And after that, I could always do like editing jobs on the side. And yeah, it, I'm always like a planner and survivor.
How many No, I get that for sure. That comes through in the short amount I've known you. You grind it out for sure. But how many scripts did you have when you went out to LA? And were they shorts? Were they features?
Well,
What
I had
were
like maybe two features and two spec TV episodes like ready to
okay?
go. Yeah, and I got lots of meetings from them. And but really, I got lucky. I got a job as an assistant on a TV show that did really well, but then my boss got fired from that because he was making too much money and had like a little beef with the showrunner. I don't even know why he was fired because I was like the assistant. But
Was
again, it was
that
just like
at
one of
Dick
those.
House?
No, no, that was long
Okay,
before that wasn't long
okay.
before Dick House. That was on this show. What's it called? The Shield.
Wow, you were on The
Yeah,
Shield. How about that?
as a super uncredited assistant. So
Okay. I
because I
was
was
gonna
like
say I
personal
didn't.
assistant to one of
Yep.
the writers.
So how long were you in LA before you kind of landed there, would you say?
Very quickly, like within a month or two. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
I
great.
mean, again, I've had the gift of timing at certain points in my life, and uh, actually, I've been very very lucky. But yeah, right when I first moved to LA, I really needed to get a job right away, and so luckily I got that, and then started booking a couple big commercials like within months. So it was just like, okay, I'm doing this. Like this is a good start, and then I just sort of like after a couple of good assistant breaks, and I just wrote out the commercial thing in anonymity while I was writing. And
Mm.
would sometimes pop up like getting jobs on reality shows and stuff, but yeah, nothing that I really dug, and it was just like figuring out how to keep paying the bills and
Well, you
not.
were working. Yeah, you were
Yeah,
working.
but it's still like working as an assistant or like taking like freelance editing jobs. It's not like you're set, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to have multiple jobs that you were kind of
Yes.
juggling
Like
to.
I literally learned how to juggle jobs through credit cards and like, got I think one of my skill sets that I've learned is how to leverage credit
Wow,
because
damn.
I mean, it was super important for me as a commercial actor because I'd see like, oh, okay, like I have a national network commercial going. That's going to be worth a few $1,000s. I don't have my rent money yet, so I need to juggle things on the credit cards.
Yeah.
And yeah, that turned out to be, one of the because I didn't have, like family backing or any of that sort of stuff. I just really needed to get smart about like how to spend my time and money. But yeah,
Okay, yeah, I was
random.
gonna ask you if you knew anybody out there ahead before going there, or were you out totally solo?
That was one of the better things about my going to film school is I knew other people from my film school who were in the same boat. There wasn't really like alumni support or anything like that, but at least I had like people I could room with. Like that was like
Mhm.
this when I first moved to LA, it was like everybody has like 3, 4 roommates, as many people as you can cram into an apartment, kind of thing. So I was able to do that, and then around the time that I moved out to LA, a commercial actor named Johnny Knoxville started a TV show called Jackass.
Yeah,
And I knew him through my boyfriend who was related to him, like as a distant country cousin. And he
no
turned out to
shit.
be like always a great help to me. Like he helped me get my first commercial agent because he was like, "Oh, you could do this. Like I know plenty of girls who look like you get this kind of work." And it turned out to be like a good fit. So
Okay, yeah, I wondered how you got involved in the Jackass
yeah,
crew.
that's how.
Wow, okay. Alright, so you knew somebody, and then what
But
were
again,
your.
it was like as all that was happening, so it wasn't like he was already like made. It was like seeing that start and then seeing a few other people I know get kind of like successful during that time and like watching the shield blow up. It's like there was a few things where it's like, oh, okay, I see how people become successful. You find a group of friends and like-minded individuals and then like you all like, keep
Yeah.
each other sane or on track.
That's really cool. So you worked on some TV shows, you were doing some commercial work, acting, and then that led into, so is that basically the next
It's
thing
all
in the.
happening at once, like, it's like
Okay, okay.
I mean, it's like I'm at the same time I'm, like, acting commercials, I'm, like, working as assistant, and then, like, sneaking off for more commercial auditions during lunches and stuff like that because it's like, this could be my lottery ticket to not show up to work.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So I'll
take
take the
anything,
risk.
any opportunity that came your way kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not
Okay.
every opportunity, there's definitely, yeah.
I won't ask you to
I'm
delve
just saying, yeah, I've
deeper.
lived in LA a long time. People make offers, and you don't take every offer.
Of course. That's good advice. That's good
Yep.
advice, kids. Don't take every offer. Do I imagine, yeah, you did some due diligence and did some background and looking up and.
Instincts. Gotta check. Always trust your instincts.
Okay. Check in with your spidey sense kind of a thing?
Yep, and always know like, the other thing is, like, I've always been, like, very clear about where I wanna go for my future, and so it's just like, does this lead me to the path I want or not? It's like
Okay.
that's the things you learn from reading books. You see all these, like, different versions of how life can go for people. You read great
Yeah.
biographies, and it's like, "Oh, this is how they did that." Yeah.
So I think your first credit that I saw on IMDb is what's it called? Loiter Squad?
Oh, yeah, that was a Jackass, produced show. Like, Jeff Tremaine, the creator of Jackass, produced on that, and
So
that's
what
how I
did you
got
do
involved in
on
that.
that show?
Well, that was a show that was on a network called Cartoon Network, and it was part of their Adult Swim live action block. So, because that was a live action show, it was non-union, and I was credited as a story producer on that. But on a show like that, like I did a lot of different things. I like story produced, which is like, you're helping with the story. So it's like I ran the writer's room second season. First season, I was more of an editor, like we're like putting it together. And then we started like planning pickups and things in post. It's just, I did a lot of different things on that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you learned a lot, I'm sure, on
Mhm.
that one if you're running around wearing a lot of hats,
Oh, yeah.
filling in all the gaps, whatever's needed kind of a
Well, because that
thing?
was like a sketch show that was like a live action show about like Tyler the creator and his friends from Odd Future. And so it was like we're mixing concert footage of the real guys, and then also doing a lot of like skits and like little story bits. So like we do like a parody of like Training Day, but instead of it being they're cops, they're in a diner and it's like you training to work at the restaurant, you know? And so it's like we'd be doing a parody, shooting it more like a commercial or a movie would be shot, but then other bits we would shoot like a reality show, or we're just like filming the kids like pranking each other or like skating or something.
Okay. Alright, so yeah, it definitely fits in with the Jackass vibes a bit too.
Yeah, and then it's like in post we would like do really fun stuff to make it weirder. And so it was just like I really enjoyed working on that show because we got to go to Hawaii.
Wow, wow.
We got
Cool.
to shoot a lot of like funny skits, and yeah, have an amazing time editing it too.
So at that point alright, so you were working in post too, and then you were kind of working on what?
To warn you, you're covering like 25 years of time in a so it's like, and I've like changed identities a few times because it's like Jill Kill became like, this helps focus people on like what I do. Like Jill Killington, Jill Kill, that's like my final name. I had no name. I was just like nameless artist as a commercial actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like as a freelance editor. But yeah, once I switched over to Jill Kill, I was like, oh, okay, like people knew more what to do with me. They like knew to call me around Halloween, and then it's like if you're doing like horror or thriller, something like a little dangerous,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
call me up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely are you're not shy about, like, taking risks and throwing yourself out there and stuff,
I
which is
gotta risk it all, John.
I I know,
Life is a risk. The only risk is not taking a risk.
right? But I think it is informative to, like, for people that listen to this to hear, how you got your start and, how you had to work toward, and juggle and do a bunch of things and wear a lot of different hats. So, like, it sounds like you were, with this project, you were involved with like both the story and the development side and the post side. It sounds like it was kind of a like how big was the crew on something like that on the
We would
loiter one?
shoot with like about a crew of about 20, and then post with like a crew of like we'd have like 5 editors at a time editing the 11-minute episode. So it was like that was cool because I learned to work with a lot of editors. And I've always liked that in TV, having a lot of editors. But yeah, it was a very, very small crew on that actually. It was more like shooting indie films, which is like always I've always enjoyed like sort of like the how lean can a crew be, because it's like if everybody is like very on the same page, you can be very lean and
Yeah.
like have even a better result because everybody's so focused. Even though like on a show like that, it was like very goofy and loose and like more like shooting Jackass. So it's like again, it's I'm flexible. I've like worked on like giant crew kind of TV shows and movies, and then tiny stuff too. So
Yeah. So did Jackass kind of grow out of that show, or was it happening at the same
no,
time?
This is Loiter Squad was like 2010, 2011 when we were doing that, 2011,
Okay.
2012. Jackass started in 2000. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
yep.
Got it. So this is once they were kind of already established in the
Wait, this is
production
like
company.
way like Jackass had had several hit movies at that point, and then
Okay.
spun off like a show called Ridiculousness. So yeah, they'd been very successful, and it's just like another branch of the tree
Understood. So
of the money
how
tree.
did you get involved with there were some feature films like All We Had and Cardboard Boxer. How did those come about?
Those were both with a production company I was working with at the time called Midworld. That was by my friend Josh Boone, who directed Fault in Our Stars and a TV show that we all worked on called The Stand. I'd known him for years and he knew that I was always like a big Stephen King fan. And so when he was pitching to get to do a screenplay of The Stand for Warner Brothers, I was like, look, that's been my favorite book since childhood. I know exactly how to, because of my experience as an editor and a writer, it's like I know how to adapt. Like even there you go. Even as a child, oh, I should show you my marked up version of The Stand. I have several of them because we have like marked up the shortest version from 78 and then like the 90s expansion. Anyway, I'd always because I kind of grew up a little bit poor, I would read books from the library when I couldn't rent the movies. And so I would look at either the movie first or the book and then the book later or book first and the movie later. And I was always comparing and contrasting like how do you adapt to the screen this stuff? Oh, this is too internal to shoot or like, impossible to dramatize. So you change it for the final IP. Anyway, I that's how I got involved in adapting the book All We Had for Katie Holmes to direct. She was originally trying to get Josh to write it, and we were adapting The Stand at the time. He's like, look, help me take this extra job. And I did. And
Wow.
we did that while our other producing partner, Nate Lee, was directing this movie, Cardboard Boxer. And then in post production, we helped him reshape it because, again, like when you shoot a movie, sometimes the scenes you want don't work out quite the same way. And so you either do pickups or rewrites and ADRs in post. And so we did quite a bit of that. So that's why I became involved in that film too, which was like another indie that was shot here in LA. But All We Had was shot in New York and directed by Katie Holmes. So that was interesting to see like how Katie Holmes stars in a movie and directs at the same time using our
Yeah.
book adaptation for a book that she'd optioned All We Had, and seeing like how she spent $3 million versus like Cardboard Boxer, which was initially set to be $3 million but was shot for less in Los Angeles, starring Thomas Hayden Church and Terrence Howard.
Okay. Terrence Howard.
But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that was an indie movie shot here in LA, and so seeing how Katie Holmes spends money on a feature in New York versus how we spent it in LA, it was interesting. Been at this game on various levels for a long time, so
No,
it's like
good.
trying to go over
Well,
my resume is a little weird.
what were some of the roles then that you played on those two features?
I wrote the script for All We Had with Boone, co-credited, but it was mostly me, for ill or for whatever. But then again, it was reinterpreted for the screen by Katie as director. But that I basically helped her shape that from the beginning of adaptation. And then I was credited as executive producer for that because, that's sort of like one of the things you do in the industry. You give a very good credit for somebody who's writing because it's like really I worked on that for like maybe a year before it went into production and was there for like the first week of shooting and stuff. And then for Cardboard Boxer, that was really like a post producer role, but I was still credited as co-executive producer on that because I basically did that for free.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
For experience.
I mean, to help
Good work.
get something done, like when a
Yeah.
movie's already shot and you just need to take it over the line to post, it's like I can do that.
And so, okay, so out of that is, I assume, when The Stand happened. And is it true you were trying to do The Stand as a feature? Like,
Oh yeah, I adapted The Stand literally for 6 years. Like that was
okay.
yeah, we started that as a feature in 2014.
How
Went through
many
several
writers were on that at that point in
That
time?
is a very complicated question because at that point The Stand it was supposed to be adapted for like 30 years. Like so when we finally shot the TV show in 2019, it was interesting because they had to pay the back debt for all these writers who had done drafts for years and years and years, like including like Ben Affleck did a version, George Romero did a version.
Wow.
But when we were working on it, it was just me and Josh Boone for the first year or so. Like he was the main credited writer. He was the one hired by the studios. I was the unknown person behind him, which again, I've been uncredited on a lot of my things. As long as I'm paid or enjoy my time, for again, I would do anything for that book at that point because it was my favorite book since childhood. You saw the kid with the glasses. She loved that book. That was about the age I was discovering the book Firestarter, and like, went through every Stephen King book until I got to The Stand by the time I was like 13 or something. But then that was when I was learning the hard lesson of like how the meat grinder of screenplays work in Los Angeles. It's like they kept on trying to fire him and get bigger writers. And at the same time, I was adapting Interview with the Vampire with him, which is an Anne Rice book that's now a TV show. But at the time, we were adapting it for Universal, Imagine Entertainment, and KO Paper Products. So it's like we had a whole group of people on that. So 2014 to 2015, or I guess even 2018, it was just me and Boone working on it. And then by then, we were adapting it as a series for CBS All Access, which is what Paramount Plus used to be, basically. And at that point, new writers were brought in. We had our showrunner, Ben Cavell. We had Owen King, who's an amazing author in his own right, as well as the son of Stephen King. And Nate Lee, our producing partner from Cardboard Boxer, was also brought in.
The Stand was my favorite book as well when I was in grade school, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, so the thing is, like, I was like, I can go back
Like a
to my
dream
childhood.
project.
I mean, that's the thing. It's about dreams coming true. It's about following the signs and your heart in life. It's like all about like who you want to be and who you choose to be every single day. It's like, I was like, I know how to adapt this. I know I can guide this. And it's like, I have to say, 6 years of working on that. And the real pandemic happened. The Stand is about a giant epidemic killing off 99% of humanity. And so it's just like following the survivors of that. That was the weirdest experience of my life, to have all that happening at the time that we just finished shooting this TV show. And then we had it come out during the pandemic when
Yeah.
it wasn't finding an audience because it's like it was on CBS All Access and then Paramount Plus. We had like a Zoom call premiere party. It was like so depressing,
Yeah.
and barely anybody watched it. And it was one of these things where it's like, wow, I poured 6 years of my life into this. This is like my childhood dream. And then meanwhile, I was like having to get people to download the app. Like I was having to give directions on like how to find the
How to
app, how
even
to
watch
pay
it.
for it. The app wasn't working. There was crazy stuff. And I was just like, wow, I need to rethink what I'm doing. And it was at that point where I was like, I really want to produce and direct my own indies. So it's like I can guide something all the way through and make sure that like this is, you know, exactly the way I wanted to be, because I'd always been one of the many cooks in a kitchen. I
Mm.
wanted to be the chef.
Yeah.
And like, because it's like on The Stand, there are crazy moments in that adaptation where it's just like what if there's a moment where like they wanted it to be like the Marvel series where it's like, oh, what if we're doing The Stand, it's so expensive to shoot this. What if we just do a Stu Redman movie? What if we just take one character? And it's like, okay, you start trying to do that and you realize it kind of becomes 28 Days Later or Walking Dead. So it's like this 40-year legacy of this book, or I guess 50-year legacy of this book at this point. It made it so hard to adapt because it was like already adapted basically in under different names in pop culture if you take out different components. So it's like it was really like I'm glad we were able to do it as a series, because it's the kind of story that benefits from, it's about collective bravery and all these different people having their parts and
Yeah.
it all coming together. And so that's
Yeah.
why I love I'm you know me, I'm very collaborative and open to like what everybody has to say, because it's like, to me, The Stand, it's like it's not about one character, it's about all these characters coming
For
together. So
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just fascinated that to try it as a feature initially, it just seems so.
It was the idea was to do it sort of, this was Josh Boone's pitch, was to do it nonlinear and to do basically we found like the most essential moments of The Stand in the initial feature version of it. It was still going to be like almost a 3-hour feature, but it was like jumping around in time and basically following the story of Harold Lauder
Okay.
to because he is like the greatest change in plot character
Uh-huh.
of the story. But yeah, it was insanely expensive to try and shoot, but it was a very, very good script, and Stephen King loved it, and we had like people like Neil Gaiman saying it was great. Like we seeded the
Yeah.
right people approving of this script, and that's
High
how we were
praise.
able to land jobs like Interview with the Vampire, and then at the same time our production company, Josh, was also able to land the job for New Mutants because it's like, look, he made Fault in Our Stars. Look how good he is at adapting things. Like that was how we managed to do all that.
I feel your pain with releasing during the pandemic. Like Unearth, our last film, came out during the pandemic. And so it was like, the highs of like, oh, we're making like all these festivals that we can't go to and they're just on Zoom. And
Everybody was having the best plans for 2020 until the pandemic.
yep. Yeah, so that is rough. And yeah, you were on a new platform before it was on Paramount.
We were the last show to ever air on CBS All Access, and we always knew it would be that way. But it was like we really got buried in a strange way. Like it's crazy. Like I'll tell people like, "Oh, I worked on The Stand." They're like, "Wait, you worked on the '90s one?" I was like, "No, I was a child during that." Like I worked on one that came out in 20 or that stars Whoopi Goldberg and Alexander
Yeah.
Skarsgård and James Marsden and J.K.
Yeah.
Simmons and all these huge actors. They're like, "That sounds really cool. When's it coming out?" I'm like, "2020." It came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have Paramount, so I bought it. Like I think I bought it when we first met, probably because
What
I
do you
was
think? You
very
can tell
curious.
me.
No, I liked it. The visuals I remember are like that last huge multi-story set, like or whatever that was.
Oh, Vegas,
Yeah, the
the
giant
pools of
Vegas.
blood. That was my favorite set. Like that was a
Yeah.
scene that those episodes were specifically like the things I was proudest of that I contributed to The Stand. Like literally, I have to send you the pictures. I have pictures of me literally on like the top floor, and you can see the pool of blood at the bottom floor of this hotel. It was a hotel in outside of Vancouver that we
Okay.
shot in, called the Pink Palace.
So, wow, The Stand, like your dream job. How
My
long
dream
were you
job that nobody knew about.
and you worked on it for 6 years, you said,
Yeah, I
in
worked on it for
total?
6. It basically it took a long time for the rights to clear. Like I realize now that the when we first were writing the screenplay, it was basically sometimes with screenwriting, nobody actually wants to make the project that you're writing, which is really hard when you're the screenwriter because you still have to imagine every scene, think through the plot, like every moment as if you're going to go shoot this in a month. But in actuality, it's all just like a bargaining chip for one reason. Like either people want like, oh, look, we want to talk about how we're making this, but it's too financially risky to make it. Or they just want to retain the rights in this particular situation. But again, because the script was good, because it's like a fool's errand, basically, to make a movie version of The Stand. But then basically, like True Detective and all these like long running series were getting to be popular with the help of CAA, and because CBS owned the rights, we did a campaign like either this needs to be a series of movies like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, or it needs to be a TV show. And so the rights reverted to CBS, and they're like, hey, we want to put this on CBS All Access. And then it took like another 2 or 3 years of legal wrangling for the rights to be cleared to do it as a TV show. And then it's like suddenly summer of 2018, we were finally greenlit, and it was even for a second, it was like, oh, we're still not going to do this. We're going to have to wait more months. And it was just like, oh my God, like I was so broke at that moment. I was like, please start this writer's room. And then we started writing in summer of 2018 and went through all these different iterations of the script, and then started in production late 2019 and wrapped shooting after 5 or 6 months of shooting in Vancouver right before the real pandemic. Like literally, because it was such a diverse cast of like, all these different actors. We have Whoopi Goldberg, Ezra Miller, Amber Heard, Greg Kinnear, all these actors are in it because it's like I said, it's like a story about a huge group of people coming together. If we had made it only halfway through production, we never would have finished. Like it just would have
Yeah,
been impossible. So
that
we
sounds
got
like
very lucky. We wrapped
yeah.
right before the pandemic actually started. And literally our crew was getting footage in Vegas as the real Vegas was closing down. And we were able to use some of that for the show.
Yeah,
Again,
that
it's I've had a very wild ride in this industry, and that's why I just like shooting indie movies to me is like that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Like it's like I can once I can hire my own crews, it's like it's done,
yeah, because 'cause you're used to having to pivot a lot, it sounds like, especially on that project.
I mean, yeah, my whole life has been like, how do we make this work?
Right.
How do we make the best out of the situation?
When I saw that it was originally gonna be a feature, I was like, "Man, that would've maybe went, like, the Dark Tower route," which was a
We
very disappointing.
100%, this is the crazy thing, and it's like I was working with the producers of The Dark Tower while we were doing Interview with the Vampire, and they were telling us stuff about The Dark Tower, and I was just like, that sounds like an interesting choice for how to do that. This is a very hard to adapt thing. I don't necessarily see the vision here, but at the same time, we loved Matthew McConaughey, the idea of him as the Dark Man. We loved the idea of Idris Elba, but it's
Yeah.
like while we were adapting Interview with the Vampire and the Vampire Chronicles, we were being encouraged to make a lot of the same sort of like leave the books behind, leave your idea of the characters behind. We really are only interested in the IP and like changing it into whatever we want. And I was just like, well, then why are you paying the money for these giant IPs that like the fans are going to expect to see some of the ideas of the characters in the books? And so again, to me, it's like I've seen how the sausage is made. Whenever people ask, like, oh, why does Hollywood do such crappy adaptations? I can tell you, it's too many cooks in the kitchen. They're wrong cooks. People like me who are like, hey, remember this book? Not listened to most of the time, unless you get lucky or you get powerful. I don't know. There's just so many reasons movies go astray and TV
Yeah.
shows.
So, what would you say are your lessons coming out of such a huge, massive, big budget project? This has taken like a lot of my life. I want to start, like you said, making my own things. And then what else did you learn from like working?
Number one lesson, I used to be like a fuck what happens on set. I don't care necessarily like, what happens on set. It's all about like, what you capture on screen. Like that's the thing that matters. Now I am absolutely insistent on needing to enjoy my life. We had so much money to produce that, but yet still not enough. Like that always is like the case
Never
because it's
enough.
like well, once the crew got so big, it's just like, wait, like, do we really need all these people? Why are we in Vancouver? You know, oh, it's like that's the thing. There was a moment where I was driving to that amazing set that you're talking about. That was not a set; it was an old hotel. I was driving in a blizzard, driving from Vancouver through this blizzard to a hotel that's supposed to be in Las Vegas, And I'm just like, this is amazing. Like I get there and it's like all these people they're freezing their asses off literally because they're dressed in bondage gear because it's supposed to be like basically a devil's playground kind of
Yep.
set. And how did we get here? It made me learn how tax credits work, how incentives for producers work. Because I was like, I want to be the person in charge of the money for once, because I'd never been that person on production before. And I was like, I need to understand how we got here and how to make sure that like the money goes on the screen. So yeah, I wanted to know where the money came from. I wanted more control over my own life and my projects. And yeah, it was a big how am I going to spend the rest of my life moment for me when the pandemic happened because it's just like, literally I achieved my dream of making the stand, but it's like there's billboards in Hollywood. Like that was the one thing that made it seem real because it's like nobody really watched it, but like we weren't even given the proper numbers. Like we knew it was doing well on CBS All Access and then Paramount Plus, but it was like right when Paramount Plus started, it wasn't Yellowstone time yet, So it's like
Okay.
Taylor Sheridan hadn't taken over yet, so it's like nobody really had the network. But meanwhile, we had these giant billboards in Hollywood, and I got to stand in front of the billboard and be like, "I did this," and it made me realize if I could get the stand made because it's like nobody knows that I had such an essential part in it, but I do. And it's like, John, when you read The Stand as a little kid and you watch Color Purple and you're like, Whoopi Goldberg should be
Yeah.
Mother Abigail,
Yep.
And it's like carrying that through in my heart. And it's like, I stood on set with Whoopi Goldberg and she told me her and her mom used to read The Stand aloud. They would read Mother Abigail together and she's crying because her mom had passed on. And again, this is like a precious moment in my life where I'm like holding Whoopi's hand during the story. You know what I mean? It's like, I was like, I did these things, and I was like, what else can I accomplish? It's like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, it's
yeah, it
incredible.
was yeah. And again, I've survived some shit. There's other stories of the stand where it's like, wow.
Okay, so is this when you start, like I don't wanna say branding, but maybe it's branding. Is this when you start, like, Kill Vision, Jill Kill?
No, I'd
Like
already been like that. Like I said,
okay.
like around the Loiter Squad times, I was like, I knew horror was going to be the next big wave, and I was just like, I need people to understand that this is what I do. And I switched my nom de plume to my nom de plume, Jill Killington. I'd always been called Jill Kill just because like I'm kind of a bitch that you don't
What?
fuck with. You know what I mean? And I was just like,
Alright.
why don't I? But that's the thing. It's like Jill. I was always a very nice person. Like I said, I used to be very, very shy. By having a little bit of a now I'm Jill Kill. I can do anything. It
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
mental trick. You got to have your own little Tyler Durden going.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well,
But
do you
it's like
wanna
I
talk
never really did like the influencer thing. I did a little bit of YouTube about like horror conventions I went to and like interviewing friends and talking about horror movies for a while. But it's like honestly, it was hard to keep that up while also working a full-time job, like 70
Yeah.
hours a week, like editing and shooting and da da da. So it's like I was trying to review like a movie like Prometheus. And I couldn't make it to go see it that weekend. I'm falling asleep in the theater because I'm like exhausted from shooting. It was just like, okay, that's not for me. There's another
Yeah.
path.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah,
yeah,
I was
and
in
you're
tears.
creating your own stuff at the same time. That's a lot. That's a lot
I
of
mean, it was not entirely my own stuff, but yeah, it was again, you have to choose how many hats you can wear and like what you're enjoying the most. And it's like for me, I'm I enjoy the collaboration the most. I enjoy the
yeah.
imagining it very much, but I can do that at home by myself. But it's like I enjoy the collaborative process of shooting and marketing and making.
Yeah, and you've had to learn all of that. We're almost up to that point as far as, like, teasing, Mr. and Mrs. Death, which I definitely wanna
Ups,
save
do
some
I
time.
am I always ready
No,
to
that's
talk
good.
about Mr. and Mrs. Death?
But before we
This is a
get to
movie I
that
realized this is again the movie of my dreams. When I wanted to make movies as a kid, I wanted to make movies about like gun-toting bad bitches and like, psychopaths and like shootouts and, people throwing cash and
yeah,
and that's the kind of movie I finally made. So
hell yeah. Do we before we get into teasing that a little bit, which will be so we're gonna record a series of episodes, and this is the first one, of course, to get some background
by the
on you.
way, I it's so nice of you to do this because it's like I don't really I've just been in post mode where I'm editing and editing and editing this movie since I shot 6 months ago.
Yeah.
The fact that you were like, "Hey, I want to do a podcast with you and talk about this." Thank you because it's like it's good practice for me because it's like it's about to be time to start selling this movie and like previewing it for people and
Yeah,
I'm just so fucking excited about this movie. Like I love
me
what we
too.
made so much. And it's like I said, I wanted to make something. I loved making it. I loved who I'm making it with. And it's like I'm trying to put love out into the world with this movie. So
Hell yeah. I'm super excited for it. That's why, you were kind of the first one of us with the group of projects that we were talking about with Cinema Circus that like made it happen. So I definitely wanted
again,
wanted to take a
the
deep
strange
dive with
series
you.
of events of how I got financing and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
Like it's a non-repeatable phenomenons is like the unfortunate thing about me. It's like I'll be working and preparing for so long and then like the right opportunity comes and it's just like, okay, let's go. Like it's like that's how my life has been, luckily. But it's like there's always like so much like preparation.
Yeah. Which people don't realize, right? They just think you write a thing and you direct it and it's all
You
magical and
can, some people do it that fast, but it's just like for me, getting cameras, getting time, getting the money, like it used to be very hard to get a camera. Now we're on camera right now. People are
yeah.
watching this probably like on something with a camera right next to them or 5 or 10 cameras right next to them. It's like when I was a kid, it was very hard to get a camera and people only believed like your movie was a film if it was shot on film. So
Right.
different time.
Right. So, all right, before we call it a day for this episode, the Meet Jill episode, I did want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your other writing projects that you've worked on, either as an author or as, you've dropped Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles.
But again, that right now is a very cool TV show that's actually doing the story right. We did a version that was never made, and that took another 2 years of my life. But again, it was
Gotcha.
wonderful because I was paid to work on one of my favorite series of books ever again. Again, that was like a wonderful lane I was in at the time. But then because that adaptation went so strangely, because it was supposed to be part of the dark universe for Universal, and then it was
Got
like
it.
it was like the dark universe like tanked. But it's
Uh-huh.
like anyway, I the version we were doing was straying from the material in such a far away way that it was just becoming like almost Fast and Furious vampires, which sounds dope, but
Wow.
this was like
Yeah,
maybe not.
that hasn't
But
been done.
my thing that I've written that I'm super proud of, but again, it's like a bit of an obscurity. I wrote my own sci-fi novel that was my attempt to build a lore for sex robots and androids becoming sentient, the same way Anne Rice told the secret stories of what it's like to actually be a vampire. That was my book Nymph, which again I'm currently in the process of adapting as a series because it's like,
Awesome.
again, there's so many ways to make things now. And I shot a live action feature with a couple of with an amazing cast, and then I'm simultaneously working on my adaptation of Nymph because that's something I can create very quickly now with using AI as well as live action actors. And it's just a brave new world we live in, John. Like there's so
It
many ways
is.
to accomplish anything now. It's like all you have to do is have the guts and the focus to do it, really.
Absolutely. And the talent. And yeah, there's a
I
lot
don't
of
know if I believe in talent, I believe in persistence.
well, you have both, miss.
I do
So
believe in compliments.
so I haven't read Nymph yet, but I told you before we started recording that I want to. I do see it's available on audiobook too. I've never done audiobooks. Which
Really?
do you think I should? Yeah,
I mean,
I
if you've
haven't.
never done an audiobook, our recording's pretty cool, but if you prefer a novel, I mean, again, you can wait for the series. It's coming soon. I don't know how soon, like probably in the next year or so.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk about that one too once you get a little further down the
Oh,
road. It
I'll
could be a
talk about it all. I'm a promoter now. It's always a commercial, always be closing.
so is
I'll
it
let
a
you know.
limited series or what are you
No,
thinking?
I will. It's unlimited. This is an expansive world of the secret lives of sex robots.
All right.
This is intended to be a steamy one.
Good. Yeah, and very well timed, of course, as well, which is good. Okay, so next episode, we're going to bring Jill back to talk about her feature film that,
Mr.
as
and
she
Mrs. Death.
mentioned, Mr. and Mrs. Death, which, yeah, I've been along for the ride with Jill of making this one just as a fly on the wall.
Emotionally, yeah, you've been
Yeah,
emotionally never actually there. I wish you could have come to set because
but
we
I
built
want to
around
hear
strip
how it went.
clubs.
Yeah. I wanna hear how it went. I wanna like, I've seen your actress popping up in everything. I just saw her in Margot
That's
on
right, because I
Apple
have
TV.
the amazing actress Lindsay Normington. You
Yeah.
might be familiar with her from the movie Anora, a little
Yeah.
Palme d'Or Oscar winner. And yeah, it's a little movie starring her real life beau, Ben Peter, an amazing actor, and of course, legendary actor Ray Wise. So we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, you see how I am. I've become such a huckster that like in the past year or so to get this movie made, I was always carrying around photos because we did like a key art shoot and like a preview shoot for the movie to help us raise financing and get our crew all geared up and prepped to shoot. And yeah, so I started carrying around these little cards because it's like
No,
people will be
that's
like,
great.
"What are you up to, Jill?" I'll be like,
Yeah.
this right here, cool couple, guns, pile of cash." That
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a sexy, badass thriller. It's good stuff. So, all right, we got the this is episode 1. We got the tough stuff out of the way, which I assume the tough stuff's talking about yourself. We'll get into the fun stuff of Mr. and Mrs. Death and how production went, how development went, how raising funding went. But next episode will be all Mr. and Mrs. Death. Thanks for being here, Jill.
Thank you so much, John.
Everybody,
You're amazing.
thanks for listening. We'll be back soon.
Thank
Cheers.
you for listening. JillKill.com.